Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're getting into something pretty exciting, actually. It's all about making advanced AI, those powerful large language models, truly accessible for, well, everyday small business owners.
Right. It's a fascinating area.
We've got some business plan documents here, all pointing towards a platform idea. Sometimes it's called Finetune LLM, other times CloudTune.
Hmm.
But the core concept seems to be simplifying how you fine-tune these big AI models.
Hmm. Taking the complexity out.
So our mission today is to really unpack what this platform is, why it could be such a big deal for small businesses, and what it actually takes to launch something like this, especially thinking about finding investors.
Yeah, absolutely. We have three main sources guiding us. First, there's a kind of foundational business plan for Finetune LM. It lays out the core idea, the market, the product itself, and crucially, the financials.
Okay, the basics.
Then we've got what looks like a website snapshot, maybe, for CloudTune, or maybe it's the same thing, Finetune LM. This one dives more into features, potential uses, who it's aimed at.
More user-focused.
Exactly. And finally, it's a more detailed report that zooms in on the development side and the investment angle, specifically looking at doing this in Pakistan.
Interesting. So we want to understand the potential impact here, right? If small businesses can easily customize these LLMs, we'll look at the features, the benefits they're promising.
And also the strategy behind it, the money side, the process of actually getting investment, especially, in a market like Pakistan, which has its own dynamics.
Okay, so here's the hook, maybe. Imagine having like a super smart AI helper trained specifically on your business data, your customer chats, your product info, your unique brand voice.
Hmm. Tailored just for you.
And getting that without needing a whole team of AI wizards or spending a fortune on servers. That's the premise we're digging into. So let's kick things off. What's the fundamental problem these platforms are trying to solve?
Okay, so the core issue is, well, it's pretty clear. Large language models, LLMs, they offer huge potential, right?
Yeah.
For customer service, creating content, analyzing data, loads of things.
Stuff small businesses could definitely use.
Definitely. But the reality is, most small businesses just don't have the technical chops or, frankly, the budget to harness that power effectively. The tools out there often demand expertise they just don't have in-house.
Right. Too complex, too expensive. So what's the solution being proposed by Finetune LM or CloudTune? How do they bridge that gap?
The solution is all about user-friendliness. They're aiming for a platform that makes fine-tuning simple. The magic word here is no code.
No code, meaning you don't need to be a programmer.
Exactly. The idea is a user can basically select a pre-trained model to start with, upload their own business-specific data, text files, spreadsheets, whatever it is, and the platform does the complex training part. It spits out a customized LLM trained on their stuff.
That sounds almost suspiciously easy. What's happening under the hood? How does it handle all that heavy AI computation?
Well, that's where the cloud comes in. The really intensive work, the training of these massive models, it all happens on cloud infrastructure. The plans mention big names, Google's Vertex AI, Microsoft Azure, Amazon SageMaker.
So they're leveraging the big cloud providers.
Precisely. Think of them as these giant, powerful computing resources available on demand. The platform, Finetune LM or CloudTune, acts as the easy-to-use front end, the interface to those powerful back-end resources.
Which means the small business doesn't need to buy and manage their own supercomputers.
Exactly. It removes that massive hardware barrier and the complexity that comes with it. The focus is squarely on ease of use, accessibility for non-tech folks, and cost-effectiveness by essentially renting that cloud power.
Makes a lot of sense. Okay, let's zoom out a bit. What about the market? Is there really a big enough demand for this kind of thing?
Oh yeah. The documents paint a really strong picture here. We're seeing forecasts for the global AI market hitting absolutely huge numbers. One source tossed out $1.3 trillion by 2030.
Wow. Okay, that's the whole AI pie, though. What about specifically for smaller businesses?
Right. More relevantly, the market for AI services aimed specifically at SMEs, small and medium enterprises, is also projected to boom. One estimate mentions something like over $90 billion by 2027. It's significant growth.
90 billion. Okay. But is there a specific need for this particular flavor of AI service, the simplified fine-tuning?
Yes. And the business plan actually tries to quantify that. It offers a more focused, maybe conservative estimate of, say, $1 to $2 billion just for the LLM fine-tuning market for small businesses by 2027.
So a decent slice even within that bigger SME AI market.
Exactly. It reflects this growing realization that generic AI isn't always enough. Businesses want something tailored, something that understands their specific context, their customers, their products.
And presumably it's not just about saving money on AI experts, is it? There's a potential upside for the business itself.
Absolutely. That's a key selling point. One study cited in the materials suggests SMEs adopting AI could see a revenue boost of maybe 6 to 10%.
That's not insignificant for a small company.
Not at all. Think about it: better customer engagement, more efficient operations, maybe identifying new sales opportunities from their data. As businesses look for that competitive edge, personalized AI becomes really attractive. The demand for customized solutions is definitely heating up.
Okay, so problem identified, market looks promising, let's get practical. How do these platforms actually work? If I'm a small business owner, what steps do I take on Finetune LM or CloudTune?
Right. The website overview breaks it down into roughly 4 main steps. Step 1, upload your data. Get your specific information into the system.
Okay, how?
They seem pretty flexible. You can connect to places like Hugging Face datasets or cloud storage like AWS S3, or just upload files directly through their interface, securely, of course.
Got it. Data in, what's next?
Step 2 is configuring the training. This is where you make some choices. You select the base LMM you want to customize.
Like choosing your starting engine.
Kind of, yeah. And they mentioned supporting quite a few popular ones: Llama 2, Mistral, Gemma, even big models up to 100 gigabytes, apparently. Then you tweak some training settings, the hyperparameters, and importantly, set your budget for the tuning process.
Hyperparameters, those sound technical. How simple is that part?
Well, the goal is simplicity, right? Presumably, they offer sensible defaults, but allow some adjustment for those who want it. Think of it like basic versus advanced settings.
Yeah.
And setting a budget up front is key for cost control.
Makes sense. So data in, settings tweaked. Step 3.
Step 3 is kicking off the fine-tuning itself. You hit go, basically. The platform then automatically gets the necessary cloud computing power lined up and starts the training process, feeding your data into the chosen model.
Like AI learning phase.
Exactly. And then step 4, the final step, is deployment and use, getting your newly customized AI working for you.
How does that happen?
Couple of ways mentioned. You can access your trained model through an API that's like a standard connector, which lets you plug it into your website chat, your CRM, other software, or you can export the model itself in different standard formats.
What kind of formats?
Things like ONNX, TensorFlow, PyTorch. These are common AI model formats that offer flexibility. Maybe you want to run it in a specific environment or integrate it differently. It gives you options beyond just the API.
Okay, so flexibility in how you use the end result. The website also talked about some other features that sounded useful. What else stood out?
Yeah, a few things. Real-time monitoring seems crucial. You can apparently watch the training progress, keep tabs on how much you're spending against your budget, and see performance metrics as it learns.
So you're not just waiting blindly.
Right. And auto-scaling of resources was mentioned. That means the platform automatically adjusts the amount of computing power needed, up or down, based on the task. That helps optimize performance and, importantly, cost. You only pay for what you need.
That sounds efficient. Anything else?
Version control. Being able to save different versions of your fine-tuned models. So you can experiment, compare results, maybe roll back to an older version if a new one doesn't perform as well. That encourages iterative improvement.
And data set templates, what's that about?
Yeah, those sound helpful. They're like preset structures for organizing your data for common tasks. Say you want to train a customer service bot. There might be a template showing how to structure your conversation data. It just lowers the barrier to getting your data ready.
Making it even easier for non-tech users.
That seems to be the goal.
And they included a real-world example too, didn't they, on the CloudTune site?
They did, yeah. A case study involving medical literature. They fine-tuned a model to pull out and summarize key findings from research papers. The results they highlighted were pretty impressive. Apparently 10 times faster training compared to doing it in-house, and achieving 93% accuracy on specialized medical language.
Wow, okay. So that really demonstrates the potential impact, speed, and accuracy on niche tasks.
Exactly. It shows it's not just theoretical.
Right. So powerful platform, aims to be easy to use. Who exactly is the ideal customer here? Who are they targeting?
Well, the documents suggest a potentially broad audience, mentioning academic researchers, AI startups, even bigger enterprise teams might find it useful.
Okay.
But realistically, the main thrust, especially with the emphasis on simplicity and accessibility, seems to be small business owners. Across all sorts of sectors: retail, healthcare, e-commerce, hospitality, professional services, you name it.
And what are the specific pain points these small businesses have that this platform targets?
It really comes back to those core challenges we mentioned earlier: tight budgets and a lack of deep AI expertise. They need ways to compete with larger players, often through more personalized customer experiences or greater efficiency, but they don't have the resources to build complex AI systems from scratch.
So what they need boils down to.
Easy-to-use tools. Tools that help them talk to customers better, automate repetitive tasks, maybe understand their sales data more deeply, all without needing a huge upfront investment or an AI specialist on the payroll.
Makes total sense. Now, platforms like Finetune LLM and CloudTune probably aren't operating in a vacuum. What does the competition look like? Who else is playing in this space?
Good question. The business plan actually touches on this. It mentions platforms like Hugging Face, which is huge in the AI world, but
But maybe more geared towards developers and researchers.
exactly, it's incredibly powerful, but can have a steeper learning curve for a typical small business owner. Then there are platforms like Super Annotate, which seems more focused specifically on the data labeling part of AI, not necessarily the end-to-end fine-tuning experience. FineTuneDB is another one mentioned, but again, maybe it requires a bit more technical comfort.
What about the big cloud providers themselves? AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, don't they offer fine-tuning tools?
They absolutely do. They provide the fundamental building blocks and infrastructure, but often using their tools directly requires more technical configuration and setup. It's less of a guided, simplified platform experience and more of a toolkit approach. Finetune LLM aims to be that simplified layer on top.
Gotcha. And H2O LLM Studio was also mentioned.
Yeah, that one's interesting because it's open source and offers a no-code interface. Sounds similar, right? But the business plan suggests that integrating it smoothly into cloud workflows might still be a hurdle for less technical users.
Okay, so faced with all these alternatives, how does Finetune LM or CloudTune plan to stand out? What's their unique selling proposition?
It really seems to be that laser focus on the non-technical small business owner. The goal is a genuinely intuitive, easy-to-onboard experience that minimizes the setup pain and makes powerful AI customization accessible to a much broader audience than before. That simplicity is the key differentiator they're aiming for.
Right, making it truly democratized. Okay, we've covered the problem, the market, the tech, the target user, the competition. Let's switch gears to the business side. How do they actually plan to make money from this? What's the business model?
It looks like a pretty standard software-as-a-service model SaaS. Think subscription tiers.
Like a monthly or annual fee.
Yep. Exactly. The plan mentions potential tiers like free, basic, and pro, presumably offering different levels of features, maybe limits on data uploads, number of models fine-tuned, or compute usage.
And maybe extra services.
Yeah. They also float the idea of premium add-ons, things like dedicated support or perhaps consulting services to help businesses prepare their data sets or integrate the AI. That could be another revenue stream.
Makes sense. Subscription models are common. What about the numbers? The business plan had a 5-year financial forecast, right?
Yes, and that's absolutely critical, especially when you're looking for investment. You need a detailed financial plan. This covers revenue projections, how many customers they expect, renewal rates, maybe people upgrading tiers.
And also the costs involved.
Right, all the expenses. Typically broken down into cost of goods sold, LGS. For a platform like this, that would be things like cloud hosting fees, maybe some software licenses, basic customer support, and then operating expenses, OpEx, salaries, marketing spend, R&D, office costs, etc.
And investors always look closely at key metrics in these plans, don't they?
Oh, absolutely. They'll want to see things like gross profit margin, net profit margin, basically,
Yeah.
how profitable the core service is and the overall business. They'll look at the burn rate, how quickly the startup is spending its initial cash.
COT and CLTV too.
Definitely. Customer acquisition cost, CASA, how much it costs to get one paying customer, and customer lifetime value, CLTD,
Yeah.
how much revenue you expect from that customer over time. For a SaaS business, the ratio of CLTV to CAC is super important. You want customers to be worth much more than it costs to acquire them.
And things like MRR.
Monthly recurring revenue is key for subscriptions. Also, churn rate, the percentage of customers who stop subscribing each month. Keeping churn low is vital.
So the example projections in the plan, what did they suggest? Did it look viable?
Well, there were projections, of course, so you take them with a grain of salt, but they showed pretty aggressive growth, starting around $500,000 in revenue in year 1, scaling up to maybe $20 million by year 5.
And profitability, when did they expect to break even?
The projections suggested hitting break even, where revenue covers expenses somewhere around year 3, with about $5 million in revenue. Again, it's a target, but it shows investors the intended path to sustainability.
And to actually get started, to build this and market it, they need upfront money, seed funding, right? How much?
The plan specified a need for $1.5 million in seed funding,
And where would that money go?
primarily into three buckets.
Yeah.
Further platform development,
Okay.
building out the features, ensuring scalability, marketing and sales, getting the word out, attracting those first crucial customers, and covering initial operating costs, salaries, cloud bills before revenue really ramps up. They also naturally highlighted the potential return on investment for those early backers.
Okay, makes sense. So you've got the idea, the plan, the projections, but then comes the hard part, actually getting that $1.5 million, especially as one source focuses on in a market like Pakistan. What does that investment journey look like?
Yeah, the report looking specifically at Pakistan provides some really practical insights here. It hammers home the need for a rock-solid business plan and, perhaps even more importantly initially, a really compelling executive summary.
A quick pitch.
Exactly. That's often your first impression. It needs to concisely nail the problem, your solution, the market size, your unique edge, and who's on your team. It needs to grab their attention immediately.
And beyond the written plan, there's the pitch deck, right?
Absolutely. A visual, concise presentation, usually 10, 15 slides max, covering all those key points again: problem, solution, market, model, competition, team, financials, and the ask, how much funding you need and what you'll use it for.
And tailoring it is important.
Crucial, especially if you're pitching to investors who specialize in AI or deep tech. You need to emphasize the technical strengths, the
Yeah.
scalability, the team-specific AML expertise. Speak their language.
Okay, plan and pitch ready. But there's a lot of legal stuff involved too, right? Setting up the company, taking investment.
Oh, for sure. The report lists key documents. For company formation, particularly a private limited company in, say, Karachi, you need the official name approved. Legal documents like the memorandum and articles of association defining the company, director shareholder IDs, registered address, bank account, tax registration number, NTN. There might be other licenses depending on specifics.
And for the investment itself.
Then you get into things like NDAs, non-disclosure agreements, to protect your idea during discussions, a term sheet outlining the basic deal structure, followed by more detailed agreements like the stock purchase agreement and investors' rights agreement. It gets complex.
And the famous cap table, what's that about?
The capitalization table. It's
Yeah.
basically the definitive spreadsheet showing who owns what equity in the company. It lists every shareholder, how many shares they have, their ownership percentage, different classes of stock, past funding rounds, company valuation at different stages.
Why is it so critical for investors?
It shows the company's ownership history and current structure. Investors need to understand who owns what before they put their money in and how their investment will affect everyone's percentage ownership, something called dilution. A clean, clear cap table is essential for managing equity and attracting investment.
So you've got your documents in order, your pitch refined. Investors aren't just going to take your word for it, though. They'll dig deeper, right? Due diligence.
Absolutely. Due diligence is where they verify everything. Before writing a check, they'll conduct a thorough investigation. They'll ask for everything. Financial statements, all the legal docs, details on your intellectual property, market research, team backgrounds, tech architecture, customer contracts if you have any, and yes, that detailed cap table.
And for an AI company like this, are there specific tech things they'll scrutinize?
Definitely. For an AML venture, they'll likely probe deeper into how you evaluate your algorithm performance, the quality and sources of your training data, your approach to AI ethics and bias mitigation, who owns the IP for the models you create, and really grilling the team on their technical depth.
Okay, sounds intense but necessary, so you're prepared for that. How do you actually find and connect with these investors, especially in the context of Pakistan's startup scene? What are the funding stages?
The report maps out the typical funding stages: pre-seed, seed, Series A, B, C, etc. Each stage involves larger amounts of money and often different types of investors. In Pakistan, the report notes that pre-seed and seed stages are particularly active right now.
And who are the investors at these early stages?
Primarily, you're looking at two main groups: angel investors, wealthy individuals investing their own money, often bringing mentorship too, and venture capital, VC firms, firms that manage pooled funds specifically for investing in startups.
Does the report name names?
It does, which is super helpful. It lists several active angel networks in Pakistan, like the Pakistan Angel Investment Network, PAIN, PAC Angels, and others. It also names prominent VC firms active there, such as Fatima Gobi Ventures, Sarmayakar, Indus Valley Capital, and several more. Knowing who the active players are is step one.
That's really valuable info for founders there. So what are the best strategies to actually secure funding from these investors in that environment?
It starts with the fundamentals: a killer business plan and pitch deck. But beyond that, networking is absolutely key. Attending startup events, leveraging platforms like LinkedIn, getting warm introductions if possible, relationships matter.
Any other avenues?
Applying to local startup accelerators or incubators can be huge. They offer mentorship, help refine your pitch, and provide connections to investors. And definitely look into government support. The report mentions programs like the Prime Minister's Youth Business Loan, SMETA grants, and funds like Ignite. These can provide crucial non-dilutive funding or support.
Right, so it's a multi-pronged approach. Wow, quite the journey. Okay, let's try and wrap this up. What are the key takeaways from this whole deep dive into making LLM fine-tuning accessible?
I think the main thing is the sheer potential here. Taking something as powerful and complex as LLM customization and making it genuinely usable for small businesses via platforms like Finetune LLM or CloudTune. That's exciting. The strategy seems sound. Focus on simplicity, user experience, and leverage the cloud for the heavy lifting.
It addresses a real need in a growing market.
Exactly. And it could genuinely empower smaller businesses to innovate and compete in ways they couldn't before.
And we also got a good look at the practicalities, right? Building the business, getting funding, especially with that focus on Pakistan.
Yeah. The journey requires a clear vision, a meticulous plan, understanding the legal side, managing ownership carefully, and strategically navigating the investor landscape. It's a reminder that a great tech idea is only part of the equation.
So for you listening, what's the real relevance here? Why should you care about this?
Well, I think this offers a fantastic window into where AI application is heading. It's about democratization.
Mm.
Whether you're actually a small business owner thinking about AI, or maybe an aspiring founder, or just someone fascinated by tech and business, understanding how these powerful tools are becoming more accessible is key.
And the focus on user-friendliness is a lesson in itself.
Absolutely. It highlights that for any complex technology to have widespread impact, making it easy to use for non-experts is often the most critical hurdle to overcome.
That's a great point. Which leaves us with a final thought for you to chew on. As AI keeps evolving at this incredible pace, how will platforms like these reshape the competitive dynamics for small businesses? What completely new kinds of services or business models might pop up once these tools are truly in everyone's hands?
Maybe you could look into those specific cloud AI platforms mentioned, Vertex AI, Azure AI, SageMaker, or check out some of those Pakistani angel networks or VCs we listed. What other barriers still exist for non-technical users adopting AI? And what other innovations are needed?
Lots to think about. Definitely fertile ground for future exploration. And on that note, that brings us to the end of this deep dive. Thanks so much for joining us.